His Excellency J.A Kufuor is one of the respected former presidents of Ghana, having governed the country from or between the year 2000 and 2008. Under his government, the country saw massive economic growth and strong economic stability as well. Of course, there was the declaration of HIPC, and the government at the time, headed by His Excellency J.A Kufuor, gave the understanding that the MPP occupied or received a hard economy and things had to be put in place. Well, beyond the praise, there were also issues that troubled his government, I should put it, from the hotel issue to the Ghana at 50 corruption to even one of his, at the time, described as hard-working cabinet minister, Richard Anani, who had to be investigated by Shraj and the issues that came with it. Well, today we're privileged to have a conversation on the very thing that he himself experienced as well. My name is Beatrice Sedu. Thank you very much for joining us for this conversation. And Your Excellency, thank you so much for accepting to have this conversation with us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes, and I just did say that you experienced corruption yourself in your government, Richard Anani and all of it. But
you have to be careful. It wasn't established Dr. Anani was corrupt. There was allegation, he'd been involved with some lady in America. They had an issue, and he was caring for the lady and their son. Somehow, some people picked that up and made it seem Anani had been able to remit
$100,000.
$90,000. Anani is a medical specialist with some practice behind him. He's a solid man. But we tend to, as a society, we tend to be too nitpicking, which is not good. But in terms of him as a hard-working minister, he was second to none. I'll tell you, and if you care to investigate, wherever he was put, he served. He, for instance, was part of the initiation of the National Health Insurance Scheme, which benefited the people at large. And also, when he was moved to the roads sector, I tell you, when you check the history, I believe Ghana would be yet to get a minister that really contributed to building the roads, arterial roads from the capital. If you look at the roads from Accra to Kumasi, right from Kumasi, people forget. Then the George Bush Highway from Malam all the way to Yamoransa, then Tema to Aflao. Then in Volta region, Nkonya, Raura, Dambai, Tamale from Tamale to Yendi, all these things happened within just 4 or 5 years under Anani. So he's very hardworking, but people have taken to maligning him without proof.
I brought that up because at the time, when Shraj investigated it, he said that you should dismiss him. He eventually resigned, and people feel that perhaps it wasn't dealt with well.
What happened, not virtually. When the thing came up, when it was taken to Shraj, I said he should resign and use the legal processes to absolve himself if he's not guilty. And he went to the courts, and the courts said the case hadn't been established. That's how I asked him to come back to continue with his work.
Well, Justice Bafuboni, who is now the Chief Justice, actually was the one who sat on the case and said that the reason it was dismissed at the appeals court was because ideally Shraj should have had a complaint before going ahead. So that was more of procedural than the facts.
That was a criticism of Shraj. Huh? It was an appeal. And the appeal authority said, you should have done this and that before. Meaning, perhaps the whole thing was mismanaged. Politics is a very tricky business, I'm telling you.
You think you managed it well? You think you managed that case well?
Justice, who is Chief Justice today?
You think you, as former president,
Me,
at the time,
I
you
urged
managed the case well?
Dr. Anani to step down. Once Shraj decided, I said, resign. I was if you like, my favorite minister for his competence. So I asked him to resign, which he did. And then he took the matter up in the law courts. And the court said Shraj didn't handle the thing thoroughly. So the whole thing was. So I said, Anani, come and continue with your work.
You know, Anna Bosman, who was then Shraj boss, was very upset about this whole result from the court.
Please, Anna Bosman is a lawyer. Again, she is, I respect her, a friend of mine. But if you are talking law, please let the legal processes work beyond personalities.
Now, that was just to establish the fact that indeed you yourself, you have experienced the issue of corruption under your own government. And you think
that I was accused of some corrupt
No. I just mentioned the issue about Dr. Richard Anani that you've explained.
But I'm telling
and
you,
I talked about the Ghana and
requested
Fiji and
Anani
stuff, yes.
once Shraj came out with some findings. I said, please resign. He stepped down and then used the legal processes. And the court said Shraj hadn't managed whatever complaint was brought to it.
So for you
thoroughly.
Handled it well?
Yes, of course. I come into government to assemble ministers to deliver, to work for the people. And Anani was one of the very best ministers that served under me.
Having made that point, we are still dealing with corruption.
Corruption, I'm on record. I said it was there from Adam. Adam wouldn't have fallen out of heaven if the Creator hadn't found him guilty of something. That was corruption. So it is there with humans. But the thing, look, have you heard of the crab game in our society, Ghana? You've heard of it. Pull him down. See, the power management tends to attract rivalries and envies, and people could lie and destroy you just because perhaps you are what you are. Like you, very smart interviewer, beautifully dressed. Your next colleague might be envious of you, and they may pick on something and on you just to remove you from where you are. So, and this is why the legal systems are in place to help to establish the truth on which basis perhaps you may be removed as far as humans can see fairly or not. So yes, that's corruption. And I'm not saying there isn't corruption. I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer of over 60 years standing. I was called to the bar in 1961 when I was only 22 years. So it's in me, I understand. And I'm also a politician. I know the nature of the power play of politics. Even twins can destroy each other just for power.
You say that people could accuse you of doing something and eventually mar your integrity. But there are individuals who have actually been found of being corrupt.
Oh, but I say could, meaning sometimes there will be substance to the allegation, and if there's substance and it's well established, then you must suffer the penalties. But other times too, you may be innocent, but just because they may envy your position, they would come after you with allegations. And unless people would resort to, say, the legal processes, which even there is not always perfect. There's hardly perfection on earth. But once you've got an enlightened constitution providing for, say, independent judiciary to go into matters, that's where, as far as possible, matters should be settled. You don't go just because Kufuor alleged you are this and that, then they punish you for it. That I don't subscribe to.
I mean, we're talking about the fact that corruption still exists. From where you sit, how bad do you think it is now in Ghana?
Well, I'm telling you, if you like, there are grades of corruption. There's petty thievery, and there's the very serious ones. And to me, the worst is the type of corruption that issues out of envy, greed, you like, racism, tribalism, misgovernance. These are very serious. That's where you get the fat cats. But look, when Ghana got independence, the population was just about 6 million. But there was abundance of things, food. People didn't have to strive too hard to get gainful employment on living wages. Since then, just 60-something years ago, population has jumped to over 40 or towards 40 million. But the economy hasn't kept pace with the population explosion. So it means we've got so many people now unemployed. Their wages are not fixed, I believe, realistically, or on basis of productivity and efficiency. So what happens? You get, say, a very competent, highly qualified civil servant who's worked for perhaps decades in the ministry. Go and ask the sort of salary he's given. At the end of the month, he would be lucky to take home pay of about, say, 20,000 cedis, Ghana cedis. This person, highly educated, as I say, very competent and all, has got family. He must look after his children, say, in the international schools for quality education. He wants to build his own, if you like, house. He wants to drive his car. Fairly, he's entitled. But do you think he can do all this with his salary, which has been fixed not so much on the productivity he delivers, as like just providing jobs for people?
The last time I checked, the salary of a director was around 14,000 plus.
14,000, not even 20,000. What can you do, even young lady as you are, with your learning? I'm sure you get more than 14,000 cedis. If you don't mind telling the world.
I can't tell the world.
You can? Can you?
No.
Why won't you tell? Why are you hiding it?
It's supposed to be confidential.
Well, but this public servant, because he belongs to the public, and because his salary is not fixed so much on his productivity as on the basis of government having the duty to provide for the general mass of the people. So it's just like, let's share it out, not taking into account productivity, so we can engage as many people as possible. You remember, I believe in about in the 1990s, there was a policy of retrenchment, by which I believe it was an IMF conditionality when the then government had to engage with IMF to retrench, lay off people because the public service had overemployed people.
Because there are ghost names.
Not just ghost names. No, if it's ghost names, then you can't retrench it. But these were real people who were really doing nothing to make the economy productive from the standpoint of the public sector. So retrench, and the government retrenched people. But then there was no private sector to absorb these unfortunate public servants who were retrenched. You get me? The truth is that there's something like overemployment, which doesn't make for economic growth properly. So that was the public service tends to be the victim of such a policy. Government engages, you come in, there are so many well-educated youth, they want employment. Somehow we haven't allowed the private sector to grow as an economy and society. Huh? And so government is left to carry the burden of finding gainful employment across the board for people.
Your Excellency, I hear you say three things. You talk about poor pay in the public sector, you talk about private sector involvement, and you talk about growth.
Private sector hasn't been helped to. There's glib talk of the private sector being the engine of growth. Where are the policies that help the private sector to grow, to become the engine of growth of the economy?
Do you see any now?
I'm asking you. You're asking me, you're making it seem...
I know you monitor the news every second. Do you see any now?
Ghana can do far better than it's doing.
So you don't see any?
I'm not saying any, but it can do far better than it's doing. See, what I believe, now there's the terminology of public-private partnership. I believe the public sector should set the framework to empower the private sector to invest, to attract investment, to add value. If you talk of industrialization, it shouldn't be the government as such doing the industrial or the value addition. Government should rather lay the policies that would empower the private sector to use the raw materials with value addition, to create the factories, to engage the...
But, Your Excellency, just a couple of years ago, we saw another government in place that introduced one district, one factory, and we don't seem to have seen the end of it.
You said talk is different from the investment. You want to invest, you have to acquire, say, a piece of land, bring in the machinery, get the qualified management. You must have done the business study, the target, the market. So you may have a vision that Ghana, given the lay of land, the water courses, the natural wealth, the very competent, nice people, if you can harness them and sort of engage them in producing, say, chocolates, because cocoa, this should earn a lot of money. We know that the cocoa industry internationally is an industry that generates over $100 billion US dollars every year. Ghana is the second producer of cocoa, the beans with which everything is started in the industry. How much does Ghana earn a year from producing, say, about 500,000 tons of cocoa?
Because we don't add value to it.
So the adding of value is attracting the private sector to add value, to make the chocolate, or at least some form of the processes towards getting the completed
I heard you say
product.
that you can talk and you can still have policy, but it's left with the implementation. Are you saying that beyond the talk, there was no political will to implement
it
this?
doesn't take, look.
And I'm talking about the one district, one
You must
factory.
have the idea first, and it's from the idea the talk comes. And then after the talk, the policy that would incentivize, if I may use that word, the entrepreneur. Seeing this, truly, Ghana produces premium cocoa. If I can bring machinery to set up a factory to process this cocoa, end up with making a chocolate, this chocolate made of the quality beans of Ghana would compete very well on the global market. And then of the revenue of over $100 billion in the industry, perhaps my premium chocolate would bring Ghana over $10 billion a year.
Your Excellency, I still want...
It's a long process. It's not just a magical thing. You don't say it and then expect it.
So there was no policy to back this, which is why we didn't see the end
you
result.
said there was policy, the beginnings of policy were in place. Attracting the entrepreneurs or the industrialists to find the capital, to invest, to increase employment for the youth, who are not direct in the public sector. I think they take time. I'm talking of the investor. Try to go to a Ghana bank to borrow because industry lives on credit. What sort of interest would you be charged? Suppose you have to get a loan of $1 million United States dollars to bring machinery in. Go to any of our banks. They may raise the money for you, but you know how much it would cost you. And then when you calculate, you do your business study, you would find that perhaps you go and borrow, you may not be able to repay. Why? Because the interest rate is so high.
Last year when I checked, it was 30+%. The last time I checked, about 2 months ago or less, it was around 16-18%.
Over what period did the interest drop from 30 to 16?
Just last year to now, that's about 1 year or less.
I'm telling you, it will be only a few months. But that's not how an entrepreneur would want to work. entrepreneur works on predictability. Suppose I take this loan, and I'm sure the framework of policies would enable me add value, go to the market, compete, because it's competitive market globally. I would be able to defray the costs with some margin to me. We work for profits over a period of 5 years. If we can assure ourselves of that, then I say we are in serious business.
You talked about, and forgive me, I just need to stay a bit longer on this because I want conclusion on it. When you talk about policies and still staying with the industrialization of the country, you said it was the beginning of policies. Yet, a government that is in power is supposed to ensure that the onus lies on you to ensure that your policy is attractive enough to get people in. So if it fails, it's you.
No, please. We are too ready to blame. They say you must learn to crawl before you begin to walk, and then to run. But the way you talk is as if once you are born, you must just stand up and begin to run. Governments come in, like the current government. It was elected only last December, so it's not even 1 year old. It's coming with some policies. It takes time to mature the policy. In fact, the government comes in the first few months to see how to harness the civil service. Civil service was not part of the party that won the election. And some of the ministers perhaps would be like freshers. They've just come into government. They are smart, they're well educated, there are people who have elected them. Once they are elected into government and they become ministers, they are the people's government. The machinery for them to govern is the civil service. The civil service have been there for long ages. They know the staff and all that, but they work on the bidding or the say-so of the government. And I tell you, governments come in with manifestos and sometimes with ideologies. So it takes a period of, if you like, induction for the civil service machinery standing like passive, waiting to be managed, to understand the government, and also the government to know the civil service, so they then become like merged in close ranks to work together to the vision of adding value and so forth and so on.
You think the 24-hour economy, for instance, would work?
It might work, it's new, but I'm sure the government will be taking steps to ensure the civil service, without which government cannot do much. Government formulate policies with civil service and implement the policies which would be approved by Parliament for the civil service to implement them. It's not magical. It takes time to mature, to let the people, even the general, appreciate where government is taking the economy and society to.
It takes time, you say. You think people are being unfair when they say that, well, it's been 11 months since Mahama was...
Please, what we should do is to try to understand the mechanism of governance, to appreciate the difficulties that naturally would come with governing, to realize some of the pronouncements and then declared visions of governance.
And that's why I want to take you back to some points you made earlier. You talked about tribalism, racism, greed, jealousy,
even
envy,
religion and all
misgovernance as reasons we're having corruption. If you can tell us, especially the bit about poor pay and how you think it influences people to be corrupt.
See, there's a saying, a laborer should be worth his wage, meaning you engage somebody to, say, do a farm that would enrich you. Ideally, properly, this laborer who would help you put your farm in place to give you the money that may even make a millionaire of you should be paid a living wage. So the laborer would contribute his or her labor objectively and efficiently, because the wage would also fulfill him or her, to enable him or her to live with dignity, to cater for, say, his or her children and the family within the society. The way things are, you just said you studied and you found that the civil servant wasn't getting more than 20,000 cedis.
That's a director at a ministry.
Even
or
a director.
office.
So you can imagine the average civil servant down to the petty clerk. How much are they getting? But for you to become a director in the civil service, you must have worked perhaps over 10 years with good educational background. You are a person of standing within your society, wife, children, and because you are enlightened, you want your children to also have perhaps even better education than you had. Send your children to international schools. How much do they pay for fees these days in these schools?
Quite expensive.
So suppose you have...
For the person who is not paid
Suppose you have 2 or 3 children who must be passed through these schools. You think 20,000 cedis or 15,000 cedis, like I said, is adequate for you?
Your Excellency, the public sector, especially people, civil servants, have also been accused of not working as much as they should for them to demand the pays that they're asking for.
That's what I said earlier. The laborer should be worth his pay. Look, I remember in office I studied the matter and said, in our country we seem to pretend to pay the worker. So the worker also pretends to work. If you don't give commensurate wage, they'll go and take whatever you give. But their hearts, they know they are being cheated. So how can you say they should be so efficient to give you the work, the quality produce that you want? So I believe there should be very serious and deep, in-depth study of their remuneration system. And also the public sector, since it is perhaps the beginning of economic management and development, should be trimmed to make itself efficient, to be productive in the work that is tasked by the Constitution to do for the society. We haven't done that. I don't think we have. And this is why the retrenchment policy I alluded to came about. Any objective person coming, work that, say, 100 people can do, you go to the ministry and you may find about 500 to 1,000 people doing it. Where do you get the efficiency? Whatever good is produced by that mass becomes just a fraction of what should have come out.
Your Excellency,
so the economy doesn't grow, you stagnate the economy.
Your Excellency, corruption is not, we are not improving on our corruption record in Ghana. Why do you think that is so?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Aside from the pay bit.
See, you must know a problem so you can tackle it. If you do not analyze the problem, tackle it from the roots, whatever you do becomes superficial. This is what is ailing Ghana, the socio-economy of Ghana.
But we have set up offices.
Oh, please.
Special prosecutor,
Please.
We have Attorney General, and
Please.
Now we have Iyoko and all these agencies.
I know.
Attorney General.
Attorney General, Constitution says there must be an Attorney General, there must be Auditor General. The Attorney General is one man. But the Constitution expects us to know the problems for which these offices are created. What I'm telling you is that the society, and when I talk society, I'm including government, I'm talking of government in all its branches, I'm talking of the civil society, I'm talking of our institutions of learning, institutes that are cropping up all over. We must do in-depth study to ask ourselves, how come a nation with so much natural resource, including good quality humans, how come our economy development is not keeping pace with the population growth? We so glibly compare Ghana with, say, Korea. At point we became independent in 1957. That time, our Gold Coast was at par in terms of if you like, wealth with Korea. Go to South Korea now. It must be, I don't know how many times ahead of Ghana in terms of economic well-being and development. Take Malaysia. I was fortunate I met Lee Kuan Yew about 2 or 3 times. Malaysia, Singapore. I've been also in Malaysia. Same climate like us. Forests and all. In fact, they say they came to take oil palm from here to do. Go there to see what they've done with the oil palm and come back to see the original home of oil palm, what we've done with our oil palm. We've been stagnant. We haven't moved ahead.
So what's the problem?
That's what I'm trying to do. It should be public-private partnership. The state, through government, should frame policies that would enable the private sector, including even the citizenry, to get engaged, to create the wealth. And we can do it in abundance so that the citizenry as a whole would be cared for right from birth. You want everybody to be educated right from kindergarten, perhaps nursery, kindergarten, primary, junior high, senior high. Even some people are suggesting tertiary education. How do you do it if you don't have the money? And the money comes from this holistic thinking of things.
But sir, we've had governments come and go, and all of them say that they are coming to improve the lot of the Ghanaian, which is why they are voted into power. And at the end of the day, we don't see anything. In fact, the last time we heard...
You see something, you can't say you don't see. You see something, but it's not adequate.
We heard, for instance, the former president say that Yetisika Sonso Komodien. And yet people say that even his government, true. A lot more people suffered.
It was a true statement. But then, when you put that challenge to yourself, your government, and your society, how do you tackle that challenge if you haven't done in-depth study? You don't tackle the problem by breaking it up, analyzing it, and say, this is why, even though we are sitting on gold, we are poor.
Is it not more of mismanagement? Because if Malaysia came here...
Mismanagement could be part of it, but thinking through the problem, knowing the nature of the problem, I believe is even more urgent than mismanagement.
Why have we not been able to deal with corruption, aside from we studying? Because the last time when we spoke, you talked about the hypocrisy of dealing with it, and I just wanted to...
But that's, you have put that, now you are bringing me to it. See, we seem to know the problems, but do we really know the problems? To know something, you must study it. That's where the studying comes from. Analyze it, tear it down. You perhaps conclude by knowing that it's the greed of, say, the people who should have been selfless in launching policies to render a more efficient machinery or mechanism for tackling the problem. You could come to that. Or you might say the inefficiency of people because they are like square pegs in round holes. They're not really prepared to tackle it, but they are put in charge of things, so they don't know their left from their right.
So they are not prepared to tackle it because they are benefiting from it.
People are trying to count if you like, the defects or faults which come together to render the economy as it is now, not too efficient.
So, sir, what I'm asking is, you think that people are not prepared to deal with the problem because they are benefiting from it?
No. It's only part. Perhaps greed, perhaps incompetence, inefficiency, perhaps poor wage. We pretend we are paying them when we know that pay doesn't do anything. So this guy who should have been earning, say, about 40,000 cedis a month, is giving 15,000 and is given a big title, director. He sits there, you must send the children to good schools, must have the resources to look after himself, the wife, family, and also perhaps provide for himself a nice little bungalow. 14,000 cannot do it. But he feels compelled to live to the dignity expected of his office. So you take a matter to his office, a problem for him to tackle. He knows that this thing, if he's really engaged, within a week he should have a solution. You'll be lucky to get the solution within 3 months. Why? Because they don't care, so I don't care. And then the corruption starts from there. You want, and people generally we've come to know, you go, come. Before you know, people are sending brown envelopes. And then everybody's howling.
So you're saying the entire society is corrupt?
Because of this, that's where the pretense or hypocrisy comes in. Everybody in Ghana complains, but we don't take pains to see that. How come we are like we are, when other places people seem to be making headway? The day we sit back and we are prepared to analyze, to find the causes, we'd come to see that perhaps the remuneration system is not good enough. Perhaps with the pull him down mentality or attitude we display, envy, we do not allow the private sector to be creative, to risk, to invest. So there's a collection of so many things coming together. Do you get me? So it's a big problem. The entire society now, there's so much unemployment. Some youngster might go and pluck somebody's banana. He's caught, beaten up, sent to the police station, detained, and then to court and imprisoned. That's some punishment, all right. But that, I would say, that's perhaps a petty criminal. But the director, who perhaps is not being paid commensurate with the work he's expected to do, and who would use his cleverness to begin to top up through bribery and corruption, it would be the real, in fact, the real criminal is the one who has it and would yet grab other people's entitlements to top up on it. That's greed. That's the first criminal, the really fat cat. That one, if we can organize our things in such a way to catch the greedy so-called big man, then we are fighting corruption. Because that's where the thinking tends to issue from, the policies and things like that. That's where we begin to do the work. But the general analysis of the challenge is what I'm complaining about. Let me feel that our universities, our professional institutes and organizations, the civil society organizations, they are thinking really, because right now, the petty thief is caught by a policeman. The policeman himself, taking his poor, very, very poorly paid, is also corrupt. But because he's got his uniform, he seems to be going free off. And then you take him to the courts are so poorly paid too. So again, delays and then to the civil service I've talked about, the politician. How much is a member of parliament paid? Have you researched on that?
Some thousands of cedis.
How many thousands? You have studied the civil service, you said director gets 14,000 or 15. So I'm sure you've researched.
I haven't confirmed the figure yet, but around
suppose
30,000 or something?
Suppose a member of parliament gets something like 30,000 cedis. You know the burdens on that person. Like weekend, the constituents after him, the funerals he must attend, the donations he must give, the help he must give to find jobs for the system. Suppose it comes from the upcountry to live in Accra. People descend on him without even notice, and they expect he would feed them, and where does he get the money from?
So society is forcing these individuals to be corrupt?
Because we haven't taken pains as society. We must, it's a must, to quick work, and then we reorganize ourselves. You see, sometimes the the public sector, I mean, when I talk public sector, it's led by the government. It tends to take too much responsibility on itself. If it would be minded to also think seriously, to share the burden, to allow the private sector to work. You see, you go to, say, Britain, the citizen, who cares about going to see an MP for job or for pocket money or for funeral? It doesn't happen because they manage to organize their system in such a way. It's the private sector, there's the public sector, everybody's bearing a bit of the burden.
And that's why
But everything is centered on public sector.
And that's why I wanted to come in, that when if a government comes in place and is able to harness all these things, then the right atmosphere is created to create wealth for the people so they wouldn't end up in the MP's home.
That's what I'm saying. But have we started doing it as a society? Because the government, when did the government come in? I asked you. The current government was elected barely a year ago.
11 months ago.
But it came in not out of its own force. It was through the ballot of the people. The people. So what I'm talking about, I'm not sharing blame. No, I don't want to say it's publicity or it's the people altogether. But in thought processes, leadership counts. And this is why I believe I'm talking of the universities and the professional associations, the trade union, and civil society organizations. They should enlighten our community to let us understand the problems a bit more than we do, so we do not look wrong places for solutions.
Leadership counts, Your Excellency, you just said. So would you say that over the years, the leaders in Ghana have failed us?
Not leaders, I'm sure you are limiting it to politicians. But there's leadership in academia, there's leadership in the trade unions, there's leadership in civil society, in traditional authority, in the religious group. They all are leaders.
I'm talking about those who have been appointed to govern.
Please, who appointed them?
The people.
Why did you elect them?
Because they promise you policies.
See, you want leaders to help stabilize society and govern society. So you elect. But you should know that you do not, it's not philosopher kings we have. Kings who are born to be kings, traditionally. These are politicians, and they are elected not always on the fact that, with all due respect, they are the brightest. Oh, they are nice looking, handsome, especially from you ladies. And, this one, we like the way he smiles or the way he talks. Or he's from my village, or he's of my religion. You put him there. You expect magic from him. What I'm talking about really is trying to take the problem out of this petty approach of trying to find solutions. What I'm talking about is engaging society to use thought processes like the universities, the research departments, or the professional groups. There is not your religion or your tribe or your handsomeness or beauty that matters. How analytical your brain is. You work with it to identify what the problem is, and then you propose the solutions.
Your Excellency, you were giving the example of for instance, director who is not paid well, and as a result is taking bribes from here and there, and the need for...
that's what is called bureaucracy.
Yes, the need for law enforcement agencies to ensure that they are able to catch people like him who are naturally greedy, those who are greedy. You must be disappointed that year in, year out, the Auditor General comes out...
If I went disappointed, I wouldn't talk like I'm talking.
So you are so the question is, you must be disappointed that year in, year out, Auditor General's reports come and we don't see prosecution of such individuals.
Please, the Auditor General report comes, and how many people get the reports to read them, to know them, and to even suggest the ways to tackle, the way of correcting whatever wrongs are taking place. How many people?
May not be a lot, but at least you have the Parliament Account Committee breaking it down.
How soon after they say the wrongs that might be unearthed get exposed? Auditor Generals, if you've really followed the way they... So I remember in our time, there was government had to fashion the internal audit reporting, which tend to have the time factor. Suppose there's wrong happen now, they can quickly expose the wrong, and then the solution is quickly prescribed. The Auditor General is the, if you like, the macro, the overall thing. And by the time the Auditor General, who is Auditor General for the entire public sector system, come to grips, there's such a lapse of time. By the time it gets to the parliamentary, whatever committee, discussions, and then it gets there, and then the multi-party democracy system, which is also very difficult to work, even though it's the best. I subscribe to that. There are so many challenges.
You think they are intentionally delayed, and is another way of...
They are not intentionally delayed. No, I wouldn't say that. I think it's virtually inbuilt, because by the time the Auditor General has had the opportunity to examine the budgets of all the ministries and departments and to work up, it takes time. And I do not know the staff strength of the Auditor General's office. Because of that, people feel that we are not dealing with individuals. We've made corruption very attractive. No, when you say we, if you are talking of the society generally, I may go somewhere with you, but I would also say perhaps we are assuming we are such an advanced society. We are not. We are a very young society coming up, and we must admit to that. So, again, through the thinking, thought processes, we come to how do we arrange our affairs? I told you just a short while ago that in my government we set up the Internal Audit Authority. So the departments and ministries are audited individually before the Auditor General department comes in for the overall thing. So how do we deal, the question is, how do we deal with corruption to make it unattractive? Corruption must be tackled right from the scratch. Pay the people well, commensurate pay, living wage, so they are not forced to try to top up. 2, allow the economy to grow. Let the economy be productive. And that's where the ideal of public-private partnership. Let the public sector accept it must be the infrastructure for the development of the private sector. And we should stop being petty when somebody is doing well with his business. We go envious, and then the pulling down syndrome comes in. Look, he's driving this car, and why one man is doing this and that, so we destroy him. It doesn't help. I read recently that Dangote, everybody is citing him. You know, he's done a refinery, perhaps the biggest on the whole continent of Africa. When he was developing it, just a few years back, 2017 or so, it got to a point where he fell short of capital for the investment of about $2.something billion US. To their credit, the Nigerian government helped him with that money to complete. And so now, Dangote, when you are counting the whole world's rich people, 30 of them, Dangote is part of it. Yes. We must learn to empower our people here too. Somebody who can do it legitimately. If public can help, let the public help. Let me ask you this question, Your Excellency, and it's still talking about holding people accountable. Yes. Right now, as we speak, people are concerned about those who are supposed to face justice and are not facing, for instance, Ken Oforiatta. What do you think about the fact that a special prosecutor is asking him? I do not know the detail there. Main thing is let's study let the authorities in charge assemble the facts, put the matter before the authority to prosecute, and let the courts listen, hear them out, and if he's guilty, let the law deal with him.
Would you encourage him to come down to Ghana? People are asking him to come. If you don't fear anything, why are you not coming, even after efforts of trying to bring you back to the country?
But don't personalize this interview to that extent. I'll be with corruption generally must be tackled. I want us to do an in-depth study of it, to fashion the policies that would enable the systems we've created to catch the greedy fat cats and to society to deal with it. Don't let me descend to the individual. Oh, this man, so let him come and... No, I've told you, corruption is so rife within the system. The thief, yes, was caught red-handed. The policeman that went to catch him, the police system has a reputation. We all know it. So it might be corrupt. Take whoever it is to the courts. The courts too have so handicapped now, so they also have a reputation. So sometimes delays in administering justice, and you sit back. Even some of the judgments, you wonder, have they come from objective? Is it trial? So if you are not careful, you victimize or persecute. Corruption has become endemic in the entire society. And the way out is what I'm concerned. Let's think, let's analyze the whole thing to the grassroots.
What do you think then of a lifestyle audit?
Lifestyle, again, I'll be careful, because that's why the pull him down system counts. You see, be beautifully dressed. Is it golden locket around your neck? Look at the diamond glittering in it. This young girl, where did she get all these things? Driving a beautiful car. No, she must have done something. So, hey, where did you get the thing? I won't go that way. Not too long ago, the banking confidentiality in Ghana was breached. People could walk into a bank and then demand. This man with a credit of 50,000, where did he get the money from? And you know the costs to the nation of that violation that took place. So I want to be careful with that.
So then how do we deal with it? Because proponents of lifestyle audits claim that people a lot of the time live ordinary lives, and yet when they get into politics or public service, suddenly we see them amass all sorts of wealth.
Those people making this claim, have they produced evidence for you to see that they've really studied, or they're just looking at the outward forms to pounce on you?
Oh, some have provided evidence. For instance, the current Attorney General claiming he has evidence surrounding certain individuals.
Claiming he has.
Certain individuals, he's saying use state money.
Please, I haven't heard. If the Attorney General, as a lawyer, has the evidence, let him take those people to court. For the courts to decide, these people are thieves, they deserve to be imprisoned or punished. Don't let's judge people outwardly like that.
So how would you want us to go about the idea of a lifestyle audit if anybody was entertaining that?
I've told you I would be very cautious of that. I'll be very, very cautious of lifestyle audits. And who is the auditor in any case? Like you go around, you want me to stop you? Hey, lady, where did you get your beautiful shoes? Look at your nails, the neck. You want me to what would be your dignity as a human? You get me? And I put myself up there, not tackling myself first. Am I entitled to be your boss in this way?
We are still talking about leaders. Perhaps my last but one question before I ask of for your recommendations and final word. What kind of leaders do you expect
They
for the
say
country?
People get the government they deserve. We are a nation of very fine people. And we want, by the Constitution, which is reasonably good, talks of secular. So I do not want a nation that talks tribe or religion or gender or this man is the rich man, so, or that man, or poor man, what? No, it's let the people who would be leaders, I'm a Democrat, let them go out to the people, to let the people feel that these are, they know the country and the people. They know the challenges of the land, the people. They can be trusted. That when given the note by the people, they would be able to assemble the teams of ministers and administrators that would make a dent on the huge challenges we are swamped in. And so when we go and cast our votes, and they'll be competitive because all these virtues are not locked in one person, no matter how intelligent or resourceful they may be. We feel them, and then we use the ballot. And ballot is everybody's rights. It's your entitlement. Your ballot is your secret. Go. A, B, C are competing. I cast my vote for A. When the ballots are counted, fairly on level playing field, whoever comes top, we all rally behind him. Under the Constitution, it's a termed office.